If the future that you want to build starts to feel unpredictable, your brain will do whatever it can to sabotage it, and you won't even notice that it's happening because it feels like logic, but underneath that, it's fear. The wild part to this is that self-sabotage doesn't always look like doing nothing. Sometimes it looks like preparing and planning and overthinking and fake productivity, but your life will still be stuck in the same cycle. In today's video, I'm going to teach you what happens in your brain, the sneaky way that we tend to self-sabotage, and how to catch ourselves in the act. Because I used to live a life that I felt like I have no control over it. I was overweight, I was in a career that I was not happy in, and I will strategize my way out of it, but then somehow I will make choices to sabotage myself in autopilot. Hi Sunshine, welcome to episode 2 of the Momentum Project, where we are breaking the cycle that has been keeping us stuck and creating motion back into our life. We all know how exciting it feels when we are planning about the level up that we want to create, and we are daydreaming about it. We are thinking about all the habits that we're going to integrate, and we're creating the mood board, and it feels really good because our brain is releasing dopamine. But then once we go from planning to execution, that's when we realize, oh shit, creating this type of change is going to require me to take risk, to change my routine, to do a lot of new things. And when we have that realization, that is when our amygdala gets activated in our brain, which is the part of our brain responsible to protect us from threat. When the change that you want to make in your life start taking you away from what is familiar, from your comfort zone, your amygdala will do whatever it takes to keep you safe from that future, and it will do that by playing psychological game to keep you away from making those changes. What's so interesting about this is that it happened in a so subconscious level that we don't even know that we are sabotaging. And when I started doing this work and learning about the way that I was standing on my own way, I realized that, oh, this is very sneaky. Very sneaky. I'm gonna share with you the ways that I used to self-sabotage that I know for sure you might resonate to some of the examples that I'm going to give you. The first one was delaying myself through learning, feeling as if I need to go through this phase of preparation and gaining a huge amount of knowledge before I took the first step. What it used to happen to me, though, after I would read the book or finish the course, I never felt like I knew enough. So then I will go back and buy more courses and reading more books, and I was in this cycle of learning, and it felt productive because I was learning something new, but I still was very much stuck in my life because I was not executing, I was not taking action because I never felt ready. The other way that I was delaying was by feeling like I lack resources. Like, without this, I cannot take this action. An example of this was when I started creating content. And I started to think to myself, oh, I need a better camera, I need a microphone, I need good lighting. And yes, that can improve the quality of your content. But in reality, it's not really necessary to start creating content. Like, you can create content in your phone. Okay, but that was one of the ways that I used to delay myself. The next one is scrolling on your phone, going to bed late when you know you have an important day the next day. There are so many times where I have very important events and I need to show up refreshed, but then somehow out of all the days that I go on bed on time, that night before, it will be the night that I want to scroll so much on social media, or I want to do something that is going to lead me to go to bed late, and then the next day I'm like drowsy, tired, moody because I didn't get enough sleep. The other one is getting fixated in a problem when the solution was simple. I was making the problem bigger than it was, when the action that I needed to take to resolve that issue was very simple, to the point when I feel so overwhelmed that either I avoid the action or I delay the action. And then when I delay the action after I resolve the problem, I'm like, it was so easy. Why I was overwhelming myself. But this is another way that our mind will try to self-sabotage. The other one is negative self-talk. Negative self-talk happens when you have belief and thoughts about yourself that really is not supportive of the goal that you want to achieve. If you have low self-esteem, if you don't believe in yourself, every time you want to take risk on something, you always going to believe that you're not enough or you're not deserving to go after that thing that you want. That's a thought that was very heavy in my brain when I started creating content here on YouTube, when I first started my business, when I was posting on TikTok. I would tell myself, who's gonna watch? Nobody's gonna care what I have to say. People are not going to follow. What is the point? I'm not deserving of this. I'm not capable. I don't have what it takes. And it was like this narrative floating on my mind about why I was not enough to pursue those goals. Another way that can show up, let's say that you are applying for a job and one qualification for the job application, you don't have that experience. But because you have such a negative self talk, you're going to believe that you're not worthy or deserving of this job because of that one qualification that you don't have. And you're gonna start thinking to yourself, they're not gonna choose me for the position, they're gonna choose somebody else. And you start creating such a negative narrative about the future and what is going to be the outcome that either you're not going to apply for the job, or two, if you apply for the job, you are not going to show up as your best because you already in your mind created that story that you're not going to get a job. Another one that I used to do was avoiding the tasks that would help me make progress and do the tasks that were not really that urgent in the moment. An example of this, I was sitting on my desk and I was like, oh, this desk looks kind of dirty. Let me just clean the desk. And then I cleaned the desk. Next thing you know, I clean the whole office. And then next thing you know, I clean the whole house. And yes, while cleaning my desk and cleaning the office and cleaning the house, it's a task that I need to do, but it's not really a priority in the moment. I can do that after I do the urgent task, or I can do that the next day. Do you know what I mean? That's another very tricky way that we tend to self-sabotage. Another way that this used to happen to me, I will be fine, energy levels are fine, but then as soon as I sit on my desk about to work on a project, out of the sudden, now I'm freaking tired. Now I'm low energy. And at first, I used to think to myself, at first I said, oh, I'm just gonna take the day. I'm just going to rest. I'm just going to do something very simple. If you're into human design, I'm a projector. I have to take a lot of time off, time to recuperate, to gain my energy back. So I used to use being a projector as an excuse to not take action.
I'm a projector, I'm not. I need to do this now.
And oh my gosh, it was such a sneaky trap. And now that I caught myself and I know that it's something that I tend to do, now I push through that low energy feeling. And the last way that it showed up, that wasn't the way that I used to self-sabotage. But then I saw it on social media and I thought it was like another common way that we tend to self-sabotage. And it's feeling like you need to take action or you need to pursue your goals with somebody. An example of this that the person gave in the video was that she wanted to start going to the gym, and one of her friends changed her mind about it. She decided that she was not going to do it because her best friend was not doing it. And that is also another way that we tend to self-sabotage because we using other people as an excuse of why we should wait to take an action. Most inaction is protection not from the effort but from the outcome that feels emotionally unsafe in our body. Something that happens to me very recently is when I started creating this series. I never done a content series before, but then once I started thinking about creating the series and writing down the topics that I want to talk about, I started getting on my head about the logistic and the strategy behind it. The thought that was heavy on my mind in those moments was like, oh, let's research a little bit more about this before we start. Let's learn how to create a very good series. And for a moment, I almost fell for it. When I noticed that, I was like, I got you, girl. I was able to cut myself in the act and realize that, oh, that was a way that I was trying to sabotage me from taking action in this series. So I thought to myself, I'm just going to make this series a trial to see how it goes and take the data and improve the next one. That's what I've been telling myself to this series. So I do not go into delaying and trying to perfect everything. I just going to do my best when I am creating each episode, but also I'm not overwhelming myself to trying to do something crazy because it's my first one. So when I told myself that, like the self-sabotaging thoughts, they were gone. Awareness is the first step to stop self-sabotaging because once you can name it, you can interrupt it and you're able to pinpoint what are the excuses that you make, which way you tend to delay yourself, and the negative self-talk, and then you will be able to zoom out and see the loop that has been keeping you stuck for a really long time. Once you see how you've been blocking yourself, the inner work that you do, it's more specific to what you are experiencing. So action is not going to feel like you are fighting yourself anymore. To understand the way that you have been blocking yourself from making progress, think about an aspect of your life that you've been wanting to change but you've been struggling, and ask yourself the question, what have been the ways that I have been sabotaging myself from making progress? What do I usually do when it's time to take action but resistance shows up? What is my current coping mechanism? How do I feel in my body? What are the stories that I tell myself about me and this goal? So you might not know right in the moment that some of the things that you are doing are sabotaging behavior. So what I would recommend do is for a week, work on pursuing this goal and start documenting all the ways that your brain is trying to sabotage you from taking action. Maybe if you catch yourself in the act or after the fact and you think to yourself, oh, that was a self-sabotaging behavior. So write it down. Maybe you write it down in a journal. Maybe you write it down in your notes app. I think it's easier because you're able to like write something right there in the moment. But something that I want you to know is to do not judge yourself. You are just an investigator, okay? You are documenting everything, analyzing yourself, and building more self-awareness about the way that you've been showing up in relationship to that goal. It's all about observing the mental and behavior loop that you are repeating so then you can interrupt it and choose a new response and start taking a small actions to ease your way into your goals. Those actions will serve as proof to your nervous system that the goals that you are pursuing, it's not dangerous, that you are safe. Then create a toolkit on how you're going to support yourself when you're really struggling with self-sabotage. Maybe that you're going to go on a walk after you're done taking the action. If you go to therapy, that might be something that you can bring it up to your therapist so they can support you on a deeper level on this. Maybe that is that you shake your body when you feel that huge discomfort and then take action. But most importantly, working and stop self-sabotaging behaviors is all about taking action and moving forward regardless of the discomfort and finding ways to regulate yourself. This is a journey. There are moments that I still self-sabotage, and you should not be ashamed of yourself for that because this is something that you might stop right away, or it might take a while. You're doing some deep work here. You are bringing something to the light that has been running the show for a really long time. So be gentle with yourself. Most importantly, be patient. I'm very curious to know in which way your brain has been trying to sabotage you. So let me know in the comments. Of course, if you feel comfortable to share. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next episode. Bye bye.